so 6% of flights are delayed. The issue here is you saw more delays over the weekend than 4%. And we thought it's better to manage a reduction in flights, to systematically do it, to plan for it, than to let chaos ensue where we don't know where the staffing shortage. And so you saw this, chaos is a bad word, but you saw issues pop up in different regions. We wanted to manage that. So airlines could plan for a reduction, they could have crews and planes in the right places. And so I think it's been effective, but we are watching this on a daily basis. Where is the data? Because we're trying to manage risk in the system to make sure people fly and fly safely. And so we're at the cusp of hopefully having the government reopened. I'm concerned that we're not going to have on day one controllers come back into the towers right away. I'm asking them to do that. President Trump has asked them to do that. It is their jobs and they will be paid, but it might not be immediate that they come back in. And so we're going to watch, analyze, encourage them to come back. But again, we're going to start to alleviate the restrictions that we're at 6% now. We'll alleviate that only when the data says we should. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Secretary, for air traffic controllers who have called in sick for whatever the reason during the shutdown, should they be punished?
Well, I think what we have to realize is we have some controllers who are put in a very difficult position. They're young. They don't make a lot of money when they first start out. They can make some good money later in their careers, but when they start out, they're not making a lot. They may be the sole source of income. And they were confronted with a real problem. Do I not feed my family? Or do I try to find another pathway to put food on the table? And that was very real. And I'm cognizant of that. I don't want to be unfair to people. And that was what they were confronted with. On the flip side, the president yesterday said we are going to reward the controllers that actually came to work, that had no missed scheduled days of work, a $10,000 bonus. He put it out. I couldn't agree with him more. We should reward them. Now, how many I'm going to have that actually showed up every single scheduled day, I'm not sure. We have to analyze that. But I also want to look and say, do we have a continual bad actors? Were some controllers from the very beginning, when they hadn't missed a paycheck, had they started to take time off because the shutdown was an excuse for them? We'll look at those people and we'll work with the union and see what an appropriate response from the FAA will be and DOT.
Should they be docked, as the president said?
Well, so the way this bill, I believe, is going to work is they won't be docked, they'll be paid.
There's private contractors here at CWA.
There are.
Is that something that you are advocating for?
So our private contractors here at CWA, they've been paid. They do a great job here. Just had a chance to talk to two of them, the supervisor and one of the contract controllers. They do wonderful work. As you guys know, I've flown out of this airport for a very long time. I love the airport, and they do wonderful work. Listen, we're not in the business of trying to privatize. That's the conversation of contract towers versus certified controllers. That's a conversation for the Congress.
I know Pete Hegseth has also mentioned that, maybe ask for military controllers.
He did.
Is that something that you're looking to do?
So the military controllers, I'm grateful for the Secretary of War making that offer to us. I think he said he has about 1,000 controllers that possibly could work with us. What that underscores is the fact that this administration, the cabinet along with President Trump, have truly been trying to minimize the impact of the shutdown on the American people. The issue with those military controllers, if they're not certified in the airspace to which they would control, it doesn't work. If I had a longer runway, I needed them, several months from now, it could possibly work. Unless I have a military controller who's a reservist who was certified in an airspace where I need them, that's a possibility, and we're looking at that right now.
Even if we see the government reopen this week, could we see delays for Thanksgiving travel?
So it depends on, are we going to have air traffic controllers come into work? And if we have the controllers showing up, I think we're going to be back to regular flight schedules. Again, I can't control the weather, that. I can't control if there's issues on aircraft that's mechanical, but with regard to controlling the airspace, we'll be up and running. I will say, I believe that in this package to reopen the government, our controllers could be paid within 48 hours of the government opening. So they could, not all, I think it's a 70% payment, but they'll get a big lump sum of what they're due, which is helpful. They don't have to wait another 2 weeks to be paid. Just maybe one more point on that. Today is Tuesday, Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans who served the country, helped drive our freedom. But also on this day is the day that the controllers don't get their second paycheck. And as I talked to controllers, it was interesting. They were telling me, a lot of us can maybe navigate one pay period. It's not pleasant, but they have a little pot of money for a rainy day fund. But a lot of the new controllers didn't. They said virtually all of them can't navigate missing 2 pay periods, which is a whole month of pay they've missed. So that's a problem, and that's why this reopening of the government is so critical to happen right now.
Is there anything with delayed flights or canceled flights, especially with the government's, changes to that? Is it going to be on the airlines for passengers to get that money back or get compensated? Where is that money going to come from?
So the airlines, we have rules for how airlines have to treat customers. We've taken away some of the more stringent requirements if the cancellation was due to the FAA's and DOT's request to cancel flights, but they have to refund. If you paid for a flight and it gets canceled, yes, you have to get refunded, and the airlines are responsible to provide those refunds. If they don't come, there's a complaint avenue with the FAA and DOT to make sure those refunds do take place. And by the way, the airlines have been pretty good about refunding flights and trying to communicate with their passengers on their airlines.
And how have the airlines been through this whole process? Have they been, good to work with as an understanding as they navigate the requirements?
Yeah, the airlines were very, they've been cooperative, right? We always don't see eye to eye. They're businesses, we're regulators. But for the most part, we've worked pretty closely together and have seen eye to eye with each other, which is a good thing. Yeah, so I would say they've been good partners of ours. I will just tell you this: if we had talked about Thanksgiving and what was going to happen if we got to Thanksgiving, as I was looking at the data with the FAA, my concern was not Thanksgiving. My concern was this Thursday and this Friday. I think that this was the critical juncture where we were going to see. If you thought this weekend was bad, with delays and cancellations, truly this Thursday and Friday, I think you would have seen mass, double, triple the number of cancellations and delays in the airspace. So I'm grateful that the Senate and hopefully the House come to their senses and fund the government.
Are you urging House Republicans to pass this bill?
I am. I think it's a good deal, and I think House Republicans should pass it. By the way, I think House Democrats should pass it as well. As you know, the House Republicans voted to fund the government, and for 41 days, the Democrats in the House had voted to keep it shut down. Also in the Senate, again, it's a great debate, but you need 60 votes to pass any funding bill. The Democrats voted 14 times to keep the government shut down. Republicans were voting to open the government up. And by the way, there was no policy, there was no funding riders on the bill. It was what we call clean. The funding from October was the same as it was in September for the Republicans' bill. And Democrats wanted to put legislation on top of that clean CR, continuing resolution. And the problem with that is we have elections. And elections give majorities to one side or the other in the House and the Senate, and they elect a president. Democrats didn't win the House, Democrats didn't win the Senate, and Democrats didn't win the White House. And so what they've tried to do is leverage the American people, leverage the airspace to get their will. They don't have the votes. They don't have the votes to do that. They didn't have the election outcomes to accomplish their goals. So instead, they shut the government down, and a lot of families, whether you're going to a meeting, whether you're going to see a family member, I had some who were going to funerals, they used the American people as leverage. And even poor people who need SNAP were leveraged. And on the point of making sure we work to minimize impacts of the shutdown, if President Trump wanted to say, I want to have mass pain on the American people, he wouldn't have sent the SNAP payments out in October. He did send them out in October. The problem in November was we didn't have enough money to send SNAP payments out. That's the consequence of a government shutdown. There's no money to pay for critical needs the American people have. And so, again, I'm hopeful that the House will join in and open up the government. Otherwise, what you see in aviation will be far more challenging.
Can you be specific about the data that you were referencing?
Yeah, so in regard to the data, I'm not going to give the exact numbers, but what I've told everyone is we saw what's called loss of separation. There's safe distances that airplanes need to maintain in the airspace. We saw incursions in that separation. Now, was it a near miss? No, but there were incursions, loss of separation. So that's the first thing we saw. The data was going in the wrong direction. We saw in runway incursions. And then I had complaints from pilots. The airline's pilots were saying, hey, FAA, I'm having different experiences with the controller. They're not responding to me as quickly. They seem stressed. Or they would say, the controllers and pilots use very specific language. The language that they're using, the controller was using, was getting sloppy. All those numbers were going in the wrong direction, which means the risk levels are going up. And you mentioned this before, but I will again. We saw at DCA with that air crash, it was a helicopter and a fixed-wing aircraft. In the post-mortem of that crash, we looked at data, and the data would have said there were near misses here for years at DCA. Why didn't you look at the data? Had you looked at the data, you would have stopped helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft from flying in the same airspace. You should have seen that. And so now we're looking at data and making decisions, and we have people who, for political reasons, are sniping at us, or they want to second-guess us, and making accusations of playing politics. This is the worst possible issue, aviation, that you could play politics with. And I've worked hard not to play politics, to play this very straight. I have an opinion on the government opening up, but navigating safety and making the right decisions is critical. And by the way, if I didn't look at that data and I didn't make decisions based on that data and something bad happened, the very people who are criticizing me for making the decision would be the first ones to criticize me for not taking action and not looking at data. So I'm trying to do what's right by way of the American people and keep people safe. And just to make one last data point on that, because I get passionate when you ask me about the data and what other people might say about it, is we were at 4%. Right? We reduced capacity by 4% as of last Saturday. We saw the cancellations above 4%. Right? So I didn't go higher than what the cancellations were. I was actually below the cancellations. The cancellations were even worse than what I had put into the system. And today we're at 6%. We're going to analyze it. But for anyone to say that we did too much, they're sorely mistaken. And so we're going to continue to manage through this crisis, hopefully get the government open, and hopefully get controllers back in towers and getting America back in the skies and flying safely. So with that, listen, thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate it. And by the way, don't we have a great airport? This airport is fantastic. People who come through here, it's so easy to get in and out of the airport. Not only that, you can get cheese curds inside, which is great. And then they say, everyone's so nice when you come through. I'm like, yes, that's Wisconsin. Wisconsin is very, very nice, maybe compared to other parts of the country. When people come through this airport, they have a wonderful experience, and which is why I want to come back to what I would consider my home airport, which is CWA. Talk to our controllers. And I think sometimes all the big airports get the attention. And that's where a lot of the big delays happen right now. And that's where the news coverage is at. But a lot of America lives in more rural parts of the country. And I think it's important, being a rural American guy, a rural Wisconsin guy, to make sure I look at rural airports as well and listen to people and talk to the controllers who, again, it's not as busy of an airspace, but I think we should talk to everybody who works in aviation and works in airports, because I think small airports like CWA deserve similar attention to the larger airports. I'm going to fly to O'Hare, and much bigger airport, but I'm going to see what's going on in their facility as well. But again, we don't exclude small airports just because we have bigger ones with more people and more flights. We should look at the whole system, which is why I'm here today, flying through CWA. And with that, I'm grabbing my bags and jumping on a flight. Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate it.
Thank you.